As you can tell today, because we've switched over to a new color, the church is trying to reinforce and tell us something special about today. Because anybody who grew up or who currently has an Advent wreath in their home or happens to have their gaze in that direction over there towards the wreath here knows that today we've lit the pink candle. And we don't like pink just because we've ran out of purple candles, but there's a specific reason why. And in addition, if you notice, I'm wearing the same color today. Whereas this is the only day in the Advent season where we wear this color. All the rest of them, we wear purple. So there's a specific reason why. And the church refers to this day, this Sunday, the third Sunday of Advent, as Gaudete Sunday. And that's a Latin phrase, and it is an imperative. It literally means you all rejoice. So what are we rejoicing in? We're rejoicing in the joyful anticipation of this season, of the coming of the Lord. But as Americans especially, we struggle with that phrase anticipation because for us, it implies that we're going to be waiting. And waiting and patience is one that many of us struggle with. We live in a very fast-paced world and we want things now. I know there are a few things that aggravate me more than when I'm driving down Airline Highway and I want to get into that left turn lane to get onto Hemlock, and I get there right as the light turned green, so I miss the whole turn signal and have to wait a whole nother cycle. There's a few things that make me sigh quite like that, except for maybe if I'm driving down the spillway and somebody gets in front of me in the left lane going like 50 miles an hour. That one can make me sigh even harder. But, these all speak to the struggles we have with patience, with waiting, with anticipating something that is to come. We want it to be here now. And my brothers and sisters, that's the awesome thing about the Advent season. Because it is the celebration of the not yet, of course, of the waiting, but also of the already. Because even though we are waiting in anticipation, we are celebrating who has already come. That great celebration of the already and not yet. And that is why this color, rose, don't call it pink. We refer to call to it as rose because real men don't wear pink. I'm sorry. But pink, this pinkish color, is a combination of two colors. Red and white, both of which signify certain realities. Red, which is the color that we usually associate with martyrdom, with suffering, with struggle. And white, which is the color we usually associate with joy, with resurrection. And these two colors really correspond really well with the understanding of the already and the not yet. The red symbolizes the not yet, the realization that while Christ has already come, we're still waiting. We're still struggling. We're still suffering as we await what is to come. But then the white reminds us that at the same time, Christ has already come. And Christ has redeemed us from our sins. And so we get this beautiful color that we wear today as we wait for the celebration of Christmas. The whole theme of today's third Sunday of Advent is just that joyful anticipation of what is to come and the faithful reminder of what has come. The finding of Jesus in our daily lives and the preparing of ourselves to one day meet Him in heaven. And that tension is where we find ourselves today. And that tension is one that we are called to remain in. And the first reading really echoes the sentiment of today when it says, I rejoice heartily in the Lord. In my God is the joy of my soul. And we're not only called to hold on to that truth ourselves, but to share that with others. To become like John the Baptist and to be a voice crying out in the desert, preparing the way for the coming of Christ. Crying out and rejoicing in the realities that we celebrate and anticipate, because the world thirsts for him. And so we witness that. Because yes, my brothers and sisters, we still live in an imperfect world. A world in which there is still suffering, struggle, violence. Yet if we hold on to the reality of what we celebrate, the already and the not yet, in the midst of our struggling world, we are still filled with that beautiful joy, that beautiful grace of joy. And our struggling world will be filled with that joy-filled anticipation, with that gaudete, that rejoicing of our hearts. And we can only do that by taking time in the midst of this beautiful season and never lose track of what we have been given and where we are called to direct our hearts. We have been given the Messiah who came to free us from our sins, and we are called to prepare for his coming. Therefore, let us all be a light in this preparation for the Christmas season. May our words and actions prepare the way for Christ's coming in our lives and in the lives of others. So those we encounter like ourselves are filled with joyful anticipation for the coming of our Savior, to bring us to be with him in eternal beatitude in heaven.